about McCone being
When
in the
you
fountain.
do BFI, don't get that mixed up with a family shorts.
No, do. McCone lurking in the fountain.
Yes.
Talk me through that and what this whole process was.
It's kind of a bit of a Jason Voorhees moment.
How long was he in the fountain before that runner came along? Was he there for days? Just waiting for the runner to...
I'll be honest, I didn't think it. I mean, you see, what's funny is all of those things are in the movie, and it's funny. It's only when it goes full screen does it become an 18 certificate. But all of those things are in the movie. They're just in quad splits, and you see them on the wall.
The people of Germany are horrified right now. All right, so if you have any questions for Edgar, then please, we've got a couple of minutes left, so let's raise your hands. And do we have any microphones?
Yes.
We do have microphones. All right, so right there, immediately with a red sleeve. Thank you.
Hi there. That was really enjoyable. We really loved that. Another great soundtrack as well as with many of your films. In terms of the song selection process, things like Underdog and Keep On Running, did you have those songs specifically in mind when you started working on the film, or did they kind of present themselves during the process?
A bit of both, actually. I think on previous movies like Baby Driver or Last Night in Soho, where the characters are listening to the songs, they're all like preordained. But so some of them were written into the script, and some of them I got to give credit to Michael McCall. You know, their songs I already loved, but he sort of suggested Underdog and the Rolling Stones song Heartbreaker. And then there's other ones like, usually because the character isn't listening to them, like in some of the previous movies, they're like more thematic. He's Gonna Step On You Again by John Congas, and The Revolution Will Be Televised, and so some of them, and then I think the Tom Jones one didn't come up until, like, I think I played it, I actually was going to use it somewhere else, and I thought, oh, maybe this is a good end credit song. So, you know, so yeah, it was a bit of both. Some things were written into the script, and some things we sort of came up with either during the shoot or in editing.
And is the original version of that Spencer Davis group?
I think actually the Spencer Davis group is a cover as well, actually. I think that is actually a cover of somebody else's song. Yeah.
But you didn't want to use that one. That was
No, I kind of think that's been in so many trailers. Weirdly enough, the Tom Jones one, I was shocked to discover. My pro tip is look on IMDb. If you want to find out if a song is in another movie, you write the name of the artist and then you look down at every single usage. And I was stunned to discover that the Heartbreaker by the Rolling Stones has not been in another movie.
Wow.
You would have assumed that Martin Scorsese had done them all. Not that one. So Heartbreaker first, and the Tom Jones cover has never been in another movie either.
And now it's taken twice.
Yes.
So
yes.
that's good. Excellent. All right, let me see. Over here at the, yes, on the right-hand side. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming, and thanks for the brilliant film. You mentioned Scorsese, and you did an interview with him, and he talked about New York, and locations are a really big part of this film and your other films, like the Cornetto trilogy and Baby Driver, very much grounded in a particular location. And you mentioned over 100 locations here, and I understand a lot of it was filmed in the UK, but it seemed a very convincing illusion. I just assumed the whole thing was done in America. It's brilliant. So can you talk a little bit about the locations and the process?
Thank you. I mean, it's tough, and it's something that it's slightly a nature of the industry as it is at the moment, is that things are not necessarily always shot where they're supposed to be, because I think the sort of tax breaks seem to sort of govern absolutely everything, and I'm sure some of you are aware is that actually sort of there are more Hollywood films being shot in London than there are in Los Angeles in Hollywood. It's true. So there wasn't really the option to shoot this in the States or in Canada, and so actually the first thing that we did, even before we had the green light, is myself and Marcus Roden, the production designer, and Eugene Strange, amazing location manager who does all of Jonathan Glaze's films, kind of started just walking around to try and put together the cities that we needed to do, because it was like Co-op City is the first one, which me and Michael McCall decided, it's a fictional city, but we decided it was like a rebranded Pittsburgh and everything. And then he goes to New York, and then he goes to Boston, and then he's off in Maine. So it was a combination of London, Glasgow, and then at the end we went to Bulgaria, Sofia in Bulgaria, which I had never been to before. And that was all of the rural stuff, like the freeways and the country roads. So the cities are a mix of like London and Glasgow. And I thought it was kind of funny, I'm not a big football fan, so it gave me a very subversive pleasure to shoot Wembley Stadium and digitally erase Wembley Stadium. Because the network building at the start of the movie, I'm sure but people know who've been there, that's Wembley Stadium. So what he walks up to and goes up the steps is Wembley Stadium, but it's gone, and then the towers are there instead. But it was, I'm glad you said that, because I actually sort of, it's a, you know, listen, it's a big, unfortunately a big part of movies these days. That up until then, I'd sort of been able to shoot everything where it was supposed to be, like Scott Pilgrim's in Toronto. So it was a big challenge to do that. And I was happy when you get a call from a director, somebody, but like Sean Baker, the director, he watched it and he said, "Did you shoot that in Vancouver?" And I was like, "No." I'm glad you thought that, because we absolutely did not.
Speaking of football, you also shot briefly at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which
Yes.
is where I believe Tottenham Hotspur play.
Yes. We actually shoot in in fact, Chris is in both of those scenes. The first bigger one that you see, where everybody's in the white jumpsuits, is the NFL changing room at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which apparently they use twice a year. It's enormous. And then the second one with all the coloured jumpsuits was the Tottenham Hotspur changing room. And this is a true story. I love telling this because I like to kind of tell tales. So the first time we shot that scene, we had like a hard out at 8 p.m. and sometimes if you're going over, you sort of plead to the people saying, "Hey, we need to go over, we need to go for another half an hour, we need to go for another hour, we need to finish this scene." Chris is also in this scene. And on the first day at Tottenham Hotspur, we were shooting that scene with them all in their coloured jumpsuits, and at 8 o'clock they were like, "No, you gotta go, get out." And I knew the real reason why that happened was that our first AD, Richard Braesmark, on that day had decided to wear an Arsenal shirt. And I said to him as he was doing it, I said, "You're gonna get us in trouble." And he goes, "I don't care." He goes, it's my joy to wear an Arsenal shirt in Tottenham Hotspur. And I said, and when he got chucked out, I said, "This is your fault." We did end up, to be fair to them, we went back and we finished the scene another day. But I was really thinking, second time we went back, I said, "Don't you dare wear that fucking shirt again."
I love that. I love that the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is in this movie. It's the only thing Spurs are going to win this season. Okay, Edgar, do you want to choose someone? Who's next? I'm actually maybe here in the third row. Thank you. Take the pressure off. Choose.
So like many worries of like filmmakers or aspiring filmmakers like me or anyone else in the audience is kind of the style or like not legacy but just overall impact and just their personality being put in their films. And obviously you're kind of like one of the most stylized filmmakers working today. So is there any like film or experience where you were like, that's the type of thing I want to make, or like type of feeling that I would like to convey in some films, or just my entire filmography in general?
I guess the thing is, and I've been lucky to do this, is that you always try and do something different each time. And you know, even if some of the films have a similar style, there's always something that you haven't done before. And because part of the challenge of it and the anxiety of it is going into something not really knowing how to do it. And you know, this obviously on just a technical level pros so many like different challenges just in terms of like the sheer amount of locations or just some of the action sequences. There's so many moving parts like that. That whole sequence in the hotel when he's trying to escape is just an incredibly complicated sequence, you know, shot in different places over a number of days. So so I think the thing, but also I you know, I have a lot of, I don't take any of it for granted at all making films, and especially the industry is always kind of in a very like strange place and nobody really knows what's going to happen. So I always feel incredibly grateful and lucky to be working, but also I feel very grateful to have had the chance to do slightly different things in each one. And in this, I think it's probably a big part of the sort of, if there's a sort of like a different feeling to it, it's probably because of the nature of it being all from Ben's point of view, which was actually like a real great challenge to have. It was like, how do we figure out this sequence without going to anybody else? That's kind of like, there's more one-ers in it, there's more kind of like things where you're trying to like sort of do kind of like Texas switches and things. So it was a good challenge to have. But that's a nice thing, is that sort of having a chance to sort of develop what you're doing is great, and I appreciate it. I don't take it for granted at all.
It's really interesting because you ramp up the paranoia, the YVA sequence in particular, which I imagine was a hell of a challenge to film. That's like 15 minutes of just sustained action. Building up from that moment where Ben sees Carl Blissman outside.
Yeah.
So is that something that's kind of exercising a slightly different muscle for you as well, I would say?
Yeah, I guess so. And it's also those things are sort of like action films, I mean, Joey, you can attest to this. They're fun to watch finish, but not necessarily always fun to make.
Oh, it's stressful.
Stressful. And in fact, I mean, the scene in the cockpit with Joey was a particularly tough one. That was a really tough scene to shoot. And it's also things as well, like sort of, it's all the things that you know, like also just in terms of the claustrophobia of actually doing it. Like you're so happy when you I mean, I said this on the making of documentary, I said I'm really happy with the plane scene, but I'm also really, really happy not to be on that set again. Like, when you finally got off the plane.
How long were you on that set?
I don't know, we kept coming back to it because
Okay.
it was complicated, but it's an intense thing. It's sort of, I can't really describe it. You were on set a couple of times, so you saw it. Is that the thing is you feel like you're in it at certain points. Shooting the plane scene, shooting that scene with the basement on fire. Those things are they're fun to finish.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can confirm that plane had 6 toilets. I think we have time for one last question. Oh my word, Edgar, choose. Somebody
Maybe I go.
Very needy.
Okay, sure. Someone at the back has just shouted, "Pick me, Edgar."
Just do one. Just do one. Yeah. What's the better of the two?
Hello, Edgar Wright. My name is Ben Wright. I'm a film student at Activity College, and my question to you, Edgar, is what is it like being a governor of BFI, and what are the responsibilities of being a governor at BFI?
That's a good question. I mean, I see it as a real privilege. I think also for me, well, there's lots of different aspects to it. And one of the things that's interesting is the things that are not part of my world at all. Like, I don't really have to deal with the government at all or DCMS stuff. I find that all fascinating. I think what you go in as a governor is that the things that you're passionate about. And I'm, as you know, I'm here tonight. I'm really, really passionate about people seeing things on the big screen. And it's really important to me that we keep that alive. And I think this is one of the best cinemas in the world to do it. In fact, didn't Time Out give it number 4 best cinema in the world? These things are important, and you showing up is important. And don't think that everything that we all hold dear is that you do have to fight for those things. So I mean it when I say is that it's really important that you come out and see films on the big screen and come out and support. So this is a really good way of wrapping it up. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're going to do one last thing, if you'll permit me. And this is more for me than it is for you, but just because I've been doing this little mini tour for the Blu-ray, and this is the last one. And also Sandra Dickinson's here. And when Sandra, would you like to join us on stage? This will mean very little to people under 40, but Sandra, amongst her many acting credits, co-wrote and sang the theme tune to classic animated puppet show Button Moon. When I was on set, during a particularly tough day, I would ask Sandra to regale me with the theme tune from Button Moon. And so to close us out, I would like to give you Sandra Dickinson singing just a little bit of Button Moon.
We're off to Button Moon to follow Mr. Spoon. Button Moon, Button Moon, Button Moon.
You made a grown man cry. And Shine and Joey.